Muy buenas tardes a todos nuestros amigos que se conectan el día de hoy a nuestro webinar. El día de hoy nos va a acompañar Jorgen Svenstrup desde Dinamarca y nos está acompañando aquí nuestra compañera Vanessa Guerrero, quien nos apoyará en el idioma inglés y los contactos con todos los presentes. El webinar de hoy es completamente en inglés. Jorgen se está conectando desde Dinamarca y los dejo entonces con nuestra compañera Vanessa.
Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to have our monthly webinar with HCN with Jorge Svenstrup from Denmark. And today he is going to talk about development talent in coaching. Okay, he is our founder member. He is Master Coach Trainer certificate by the International Association of Coaching Institute, Instructor certified by the International Center for Family Development, member of Danish Society of Clinical Telemedicine, Mind Development Trainer, Leadership Development Trainer, International Professor in Neurolinguistic Coaching, and Director of Empower Mind Denmark, international speaker, trainer coach with international experience in leadership. Hi, Jorge. Jorge?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Are you listening?
And thank you for the... Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the fantastic presentation, and good evening to all the possible listeners all around the world. It is a pleasure to be with you tonight, and I'm going to talk a little about talent, how to develop talent in coaching. And talent, it could very well be the most potent accelerator of them all. So I'm going to share my thoughts and knowledge about this topic with you for the next, small hour, perhaps included questions from you. And actually, a lot of stuff has happened in the talent area the last decade or so. Before, it was very common to distinguish between either you had talent or you did not have talent, as talent was assumed to be something that you were born with, and if you're not born with talent, then you had to find something else to do. But research the last decade or so has actually shown that it's just a part of the story, that a lot of other stuff is also happening in regard to talent. And you might have read or heard that it's said that 10,000 hours of experience will grow a talent. So it does not matter what you actually dig into. If you spend 10,000 hours on it, you will become not even good at it, but talented. So that puts a lot of the talented actors, artists, musicians, and all other kinds of talents into perspective. Perhaps they were not born with a talent, perhaps they actually just practiced 10,000 hours or more. So very, very welcome to all of you. As I said, I will do this presentation in English for our English-speaking community. And actually, I have done a presentation similar to this in Spanish in Santiago de Chile last year. And when I was doing this presentation, I was telling the audience a story that I would like to share with you also. The case is that I am a coach trainer. I've been a coach trainer in Denmark for the last 10 years. And I've had the opportunity to travel to many other countries doing trainings. And then I was asked by the organizer of a huge coaching organization in Santiago de Chile if I would like to come to Chile and do a training there. And well, I accepted, of course. I've never been to Chile before. It should be a fantastic place. So when the time arrived, then I was ready to leave for Chile. And just the night before, I was calling Paul, the organizer in Chile, and I was asking if the translator was if everything was all right with the translator. And he said, well, there's no translator. I guess you will do the presentation in Spanish. And actually, I do speak, or did speak, a little Spanish, perhaps a little more than a little. But one thing is being able to order a meal or having a slight conversation in Spanish. Another thing is to actually do a full coach training or certification training in Spanish. So that was quite a shock for me. And in this case, you actually have two choices, I guess. You can decline and say it's not possible, or you can take the challenge and make it work. And fortunately, I did the latter. So the next day, I was sitting on the plane on the way to Santiago de Chile. I was very, very excited, and I was, you could say, reading up on my Spanish competence. And the day after I arrived to Chile, I was actually supposed to do a speech, a keynote in also in Spanish. It appeared, explaining how the coaching works in leadership in Europe at that present day, 10 or 6 or 7 years ago, and that went pretty well. So I was confident until I started asking for questions. And it appeared that I actually did not understand the questions from the audience. I had to get them, had them repeated once or twice, and even thrice, before I actually understood the question. And I realized that the Spanish I have learned in Spain was not the same as the Spanish spoken in Chile. But the next morning, I went to start the training. I was going to be there for 4 days, and I will never forget in my life. When I went back to the hotel after the first day's training, it was like champagne bubbles in my veins. It had been an absolutely fantastic, challenging day. I have spoke Spanish. I've never been speaking Spanish in my life before. I think I learned more Spanish that day than I've learned in my previous years practiced in Spanish. And actually, I asked myself a question. What did I actually do in order to be able to do this? And I guess there were two things I did. The first thing is I just did it. And the second thing is that I actually believed in the process. I believed that it was actually possible. So that was the two things I did. And then if I should ask myself another question as a coach, then what strength or what talent did I actually show that day in Santiago de Chile, doing it and trusting the process? And I think that the talent I actually used there was courage. Well, I haven't seen myself as a person with a lot of courage, but perhaps I have more courage than I think I have. So this was a way for me to actually to investigate and find out a hidden, unconscious talent, a thing that I did not realize was a talent I had, but apparently it was. Well, you could also say it's very stupid actually to go and start doing a training in a language where you are not very confident. But on the other hand, I learned a lot. I'm sure my students learned a lot, and I had the most fantastic experience of my life. And that is what happening. That is what happens when we really uses our talents. So, to start off, I would like actually to propose to you that you grab a piece of paper and a pen, because I will include a few tasks and exercises during this presentation, and perhaps you will need a piece of paper and a pen in order to do so. I'll just give you 30 seconds to find that. Right. So, the first question I'm going to ask you is, if I can get this working, yeah. When did you last experience success? It could be in your work, it could be to a relationship, it could be in the family, it could be anywhere. I'd like you to reflect upon when you last experienced success. It could be big success, it could be a small success, it could be more than one success. If you are two listening at the same time, you could even talk about this and investigate when did you last experience success and take a few notes. Perhaps you can find an experience last week, perhaps you got to go to last month, or perhaps you had one today, a small experience of success. So, my next question to you would be, what did you do actually in order to achieve this success? What exactly did you do to succeed? Perhaps you did something by yourself, perhaps you did something together with somebody else. But surely you did something in order to achieve this success. Right. My next question would be, what talent did you actually use? When you did this, what was the talent behind it? It could be a communication talent, or writing talent, or building talent. It could be a personal competence you actually used. And perhaps you used more than one talent. What other talent did you use? So, very well. So now I would invite you to raise your hand, all of you who identified a talent. Raise your hands, please. Thank you. So, who identified a known talent, a talent that you actually knew you had? Perhaps you were not aware that you used it in this situation, but it is a talent that is known to you. Right. And who of you actually identified an unconscious talent, a talent you were not aware that you had, but it could be a new talent? At least a new talent you're aware of. Okay. So, now I know the talent research area is a very complex and big area. I do like to make things simple. And this is a very, very, very simple way actually to investigate and find out and explore and identify talents. It could be new talents or it could be already known talents. So I'd like to share with you now the life cycle of talent. We have actually two different kinds of talents. We have the congenital talent, that's the talent you are born with. As I started saying early on, we thought that most talents were actually something that you were born with, but it seems now as research progresses that it's fewer and fewer talents that are actually congenital. One example could be the perfect pitch. You know, some people they can sing a tune or play a tune and they can do it right the first time just after listening to a tune once. That is an example of a congenital talent. You can also learn that talent, but it appears that you can't learn it as well as those who have exactly this talent as a congenital talent. So this is one way of getting talents, but it's not too many talents actually that you get like this. And the best way to actually to maintain and to develop and to get the benefits of the congenital talents is using it. So actually, the more you use it, it's no news, I guess. The better you get. It does not matter what in the world. When you're training, when you're using it, you get better. That's not new to you, I guess. So the other talents are talents that comes from experience. Actually, they comes from experience of success. So this means that the best way of actually investigating, exploring, and identifying your talents is to explore experiences of success. And the more success experiences you can discover in your life, the more talents you can actually discover. So when we have a success experience, I did something, it was a success, then it can either be a conscious strength, as some of you had before, a strength that you knew you have, and it's conscious to you, which makes it easy, because when something is conscious, it's possible actually to do something about it. But as you saw before, some of you actually had an unconscious, or showed an unconscious strength, something that you were not aware of. Perhaps you had never thought in your life that this was a strength, but perhaps you're using it each and every day, or rarely, without knowing anything about it. So these are the two different kinds of strength that you can develop from a success experience. So in order to make the unconscious strength a conscious one, you can have a coaching intervention. And the coach can do exactly what I did to you just before. Ask for the last episode of success, or explore different episodes of success, and from there actually gain access to the unconscious strength. And the minute we talk about them, they change into a conscious strength. And the point is that now we start to get bonus, because the minute we have a conscious strength, we also build a supportive belief. So you could say the minute that I realized that I actually have courage, then I can start to think of myself as a person with courage. And I guess if you're a coach, then you know the law of beliefs. The more we believe the beliefs, the more reality they become. So the more I actually believe that I have courage, the more courage I use in my daily life, and the more courage I get. So the conscious strength can actually very well become a supportive belief after it become conscious. You could also say that when I went to Santiago de Chile and did this training, I also showed another talent. I actually showed a talent for languages. Because if I could do a training in Spanish, then I must have some talent in speaking other languages. So I have today a supportive belief that I am good at languages, and I can easily learn new languages. I could also have another belief that I'm very bad at languages, which would not support me very well in the job that I have. So now, once you have discovered and identified a strength, a conscious strength, then we need to develop it. And actually, the more we develop it, the more a bigger asset it becomes. And the coaching intervention here could very well to have a session about, now you have this strength, how can you actually develop this strength into having more of it? If it's a little strength, it could be developed into a big strength. If it is a major strength, then perhaps you do not need to develop it so much more. And the next phase would actually be that we now have a conscious strength, and it is also active because I'm building on it, I'm developing it, and I start to using it in my daily life. And what happens when I start using my talent? Well, I could use a coach here to help me using my talent, because perhaps you have talents that you are very well aware of, but you don't necessarily use them in your daily life. And so perhaps you would need help to build a strategy in order to use your strength more. And there's actually a very, very, very good reason to do this. Because when we know our strength and we use our strength, then they lead directly to happiness and success. And I state this because it has been one of the major research areas, actually. So it's very well established that when you know and when you use your strength in your daily life, you become more happy and successful. Well, it could seem it's logic, but on the other hand, how much do you use your strength in your life? We're going to dig more into that in a while, but first I would like to share some of the knowledge, the research behind this discovery. Perhaps you have heard about this, Be a Character.org. It's an Institute of Happiness. They have been studying for quite some years into happiness and to find out what makes you happy in your life. So what they have discovered is that they have a lot of questions. You can go into that homepage. You can register for free, and you can fill out different questionnaires. Here they present 120 questions. It can even be 240 questions. And what you find out is that you find out your strength. They have put together 24 different strengths. They have collected these strengths from different areas, from different religions, from different cultures, and they have collected it, and they have, you could say, filtered it, and from all the strength in the world, they have found out that these 24 strengths are the most important strengths in life. So after doing this, they have asked 2.6 million people about these questions in order for these people to find out their strengths. So they have a huge amount of data. It's worldwide. It's in more than 190 countries. So the data is very solid. So what it's about is that when you take the survey, you will know your strengths. And when you know your strengths, you have the option to use them. So here's the example from the VIA test. After filling out the questionnaire, you could get a result like this. What you see in the top is the 4, 5, 6 key strengths. So those are the most important strengths for this person, who happens to be me. So knowing these strengths, then you know what you're very good at, and what you are not very good at, and you have an option. When you discover your key strength, your character strength, then you should use those, because the more you use them, the more happy you actually become. So for me, it's very, very, very important to be able to include humor in my work. I don't know how I hope I do not have to forgive too much, because then I would need to be put into a situation where forgiveness is important. But I would also need to use my curiosity, put things into perspective, and be creative, and stuff like this. So the more I do this, the more happy I get. On the other hand, and that's the interesting part actually, Also, that there are things that could be developed. So, looking at these strengths, it could be, I mean, now you can see why I'm working by myself doing trainings and not in a team. It's because it's not one of my strengths. But it could be developed. And if it, when developed, I could develop it so it became a character strength, a key strength, and I could use it more, and I could become happy also doing teamwork. So each and every one of these strengths are not something I'm born with. It's something that comes from experience, good experiences or bad experiences, and that's how my strengths are built. So there are actually some good reasons for using your strengths, because the more you use them, the more talented you become, and the more happiness you encounter in your life. And the research that actually supports this statement is pretty heavy. Because when you are, well, it's perhaps logic, but it's pretty good to be happy actually, because when you feel satisfied, you feel happy, and you live your strength, then you experience personal growth. Actually, the brain expands. Scientist Marianne Fredrickson has shown that the brain actually gets more flexible and expands when you are using strength and become more happy. And that's where you experience a personal growth, which is very satisfying. It's also optimal for learning, because when you are happy, you become more creative, and when you are more creative, you actually learn better. So also there's a direct way from using your strength to optimal learning. Also, you will achieve better health and faster recovery, because research has shown that if you are happy, then you will actually recover faster from any sickness or disease that you are facing. And in the end, it will actually improve survival. So it's very, very, very fundamental. It will improve the life satisfaction. And the last thing, which is also pretty important to remember, this is not just about happiness, it's also about profit. It's always about profit. And actually, also as a company or an institution, you would profit from having happy, satisfied people working for you who uses their strength and talents, because they would become less sick, they will produce more, and they will actually also have better team performance. So there are loads and loads of benefits from knowing the talents, developing the talents, using the key talents, become talented and become more happy. So now I would like to ask you, put you into the position as a coachee for a while, and I would like to ask you to reflect upon the next question. When do you use your talents and strength in your work, in your daily life? That would be the first question. And after you have discovered, explored that for a while, I would like you also to ask yourself, what can you do differently from tomorrow actually to use some of these strengths and talents more? And I'll give you a few minutes to explore.
Jorgen.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we have a question here in our panel. Can I read it to you?
Yes, sure.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Ricardo Aurelio says, which activities can I do to reaffirm the talents of my collaborators to turn them into a strength?
Sorry, the talent of what?
Collaborators. The people.
Collaboration with other people?
To turn them to a strength.
Turn them to a strength. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I hear the question right.
I think he's trying to say that he wants to reaffirm the talent of his people that they have in charge, you know, and turn that in a strength. Strength like
in a strength?
Fortalezas. Yes. Fortalezas. Strength.
Strength. Right. Yeah. So I think if I understand the question right, then I think the way is to explore the talents or strength of the employees. It could be by asking them where they have success in their work. It could be by monitoring them while they work and see what they're actually very good at. And then it's a very, very good idea, as much as possible, to let the people do what they are good at. And I know that in most companies, there will be people doing things that they will have to do, even though it's not a strength for them. But it can be a compensation for this, could be if each and every one of the employees actually have some tasks where they really use their talents, because that can level you could say, the boring tasks or the automatic things that people also have to do in a working situation. I don't know if that answered the question. Right. Okay. So let's go on. You've had a chance to investigate when you use your talents and strength in your daily work or in your life, and to explore what you can do to use it more from tomorrow. What little change can you actually make in order to use the talents you have more? And perhaps you did not find the final answer to the question today, but you can sleep on it, and perhaps you'll get the answer tomorrow morning. So, in order to move on, I would like to introduce to you the barriers for talent. What is standing in the way for talent? And there are actually a few things, and and not even on the list are the question I had before. Well, considering that some people in the working situation will have to do or fill the job with tasks that they do not like to do. That is, of course, a barrier for talent, because then the people are not using their talents. But of other barriers, we can mention this one. It's the one we talked about earlier on. If you're not conscious about the talent, then it's a barrier. How can you use a talent that is unconscious for you? So the first step is to make it conscious. And the way we have discussed earlier on, that's very, very simple questions. We do not need to make huge investigations or questionnaires. You could either fill out the VIA test and get the answer, or you could ask a few coaching questions in order to make the unconscious talent conscious. So a coach could be used in this situation. The next barrier for talent is not using them. If you're not using the talent, then it just stops being a talent. You get rusty. So that's actually the worst thing you can, is not using your talents. The talent or the strength gets rusty, and at the same time you get dissatisfied, because we really get happy and pleased when we get the chance to use the talent. and the opposite is also the case. The third barrier for talent, as I see it, is low self-esteem. Self-esteem is the way that you look upon yourself. We have self-confidence and we have self-esteem as two parts, not exactly the same, but in the same family. So when I have low self-esteem, I see myself as a not very valuable person. And when I do this, and I do this because of experiences I've had in my life, could be lack of love, or it could be because I've been mocked in school, or it could be loads of different situations I've had, experiences I've had, that leads to low self-esteem. And until recently, that low self-esteem was actually said to be one of the major obstructions for success in life. And this is because if you have suffered from a low self-esteem, then so many things becomes difficult. It could be difficult to be in relationships, it could be difficult to be at work, because you value yourself very low. And the reason that the low self-esteem also is a barrier for talent is, and I'll go into this a little further in a short while, it is because you do not see this success in your life, but surely you see the failures. And I mean, how can I develop my talent and strength if I do not believe I have any? So, as I see it, low self-esteem is a very heavy barrier for talent. Actually, I just said before that low self-esteem was evaluated as probably one of the worst barriers for happiness altogether. But it's not so anymore. Actually, last year or the year before that, self-control was actually coming in on the scene as the number one barrier for happiness altogether. And I'm not sure if you have heard about the marshmallow experiment. It's a very cruel experiment. It's a group of researchers who many years ago took a group of kids, age 3, 4, 5 years old, put one of them in a room, one by themselves, put a marshmallow on a plate in front of them and said to the kids, so if you can sit here without eating this marshmallow for 15 minutes, you will get another one. If you eat it before the 15 minutes are gone, you will not get any more. And then they left the room and closed the door. And you can imagine these kids, how they were just watching that marshmallow. Some of them were just eating the marshmallow in 10 seconds. Other of the kids were sitting on their hands, they were holding their eyes, they were singing, they were turning their back to the marshmallow, they were trying and doing everything they could in order to avoid eating the marshmallow. And they had made a longitudinal studio, which means they had repeated and followed these kids for 30, 40 years, and they had discovered, and this is pretty scary, I guess, that the kids that did not eat the marshmallow, who had the highest degree of self-control, impulse control, they were determined to have more success in life, in partnerships, in wealth, in education, in jobs, in everything. But do not be too scared now if you have kids that would take that and eat that marshmallow straight away, because self-control can also be trained, but that's another topic. So, apart from the low self-esteem, we have, you could say, a broader barrier for talent, and that's all the limiting beliefs. So, if, for instance, I believe that I'm not very good at languages, there's a very, very, very good reason that I would prove this belief right. So I will never go into other countries and try to learn the language because I have a belief that I'm not very good at the language. So the limiting beliefs in itself will be barriers for getting experiences of success in certain areas. So the more limiting beliefs I have of myself, the more barriers for talent and strength I actually put in front of me. And if you suffer from low self-esteem, or have clients who suffer from low self-esteem, or if you meet people with loads of limiting beliefs, when as a coach you know that you can deal with it, you have a lot of tools that will deal with the limiting beliefs. They can also be used with low self-esteem, because low self-esteem is nothing but a limiting beliefs. But as you know, limiting beliefs, we think they are the truth, and therefore we act upon them as if they were the truth. So the intervention from the coach could come very handy. To explore the low self-esteem, because I see this as a pretty heavy threat. If I do not see my successes in life, how can I then identify my strengths and talents? And you see, if I have a low self-esteem, then this is my life. My life consists of loads of different experiences over time. I was born up here with the first red dot in the upper left corner, and I have had many experiences in my life. Some were good and some were bad. If I have low self-esteem, I will make my life story based upon all the experiences of failure. And each and every time I experience a new failure, I will tell myself, yep, it's because I'm not good enough, I'm not worth it, and I will build upon my low self-esteem. So this is actually why people with low self-esteem tend to become or to increase the level of low self-esteem throughout life, if they do not meet the coach. Because one very efficient way for the coach to deal with people with low self-esteem that stands in the way for developing strengths and talents is to rewrite the life story. Because there's none of us who only have failures in our life. There's no one who only have successes. Our life is a mix of both. So if I, as a person with low self-esteem, has focused on all the experiences of failure, I have become a failure myself. So the work for the coach is to start digging little by little after experiences of success. And if I ask a person with low self-esteem, so when did you last have an experience of success? It's very likely he will say, never. If I say, well, just one tiny experience of success, he might think and consider and reflect, and he will say, well, no, nothing really turns up. So as a coach, I have to be very consistent, very persistent, and continue to ask the same question. Perhaps helping a little bit, pointing to family life or to kids or relations or work, in order for the coachee to start seeing, perhaps for the first time in many years, small experiences of success. And when we start to build or rebuild the life story, the person will, sooner or later, but it could very well be sooner, start to see the life story in a new perspective, a total new perspective. And the minute I see my life as a chain of experiences of success, then I have a high degree of self-esteem. I'm building my self-esteem, and as a bonus, I will also be able to explore and identify the talents and strengths, because behind each and every experience of success lies a strength. So I'm building not only my self-esteem, I'm also building a database of success stories, a database of strengths, including loads of talents. And now the next step for the coach would be to help or assist the coachee in in using those strengths more in future in order for them to become talents and increased level of happiness. So, finally, I would like to just share with you a few tools for the trainer based upon what we've been talking about. For identifying the talents, it could very well be a map of talents. For using the talents, it could be a wheel of strength. I'm sure you have heard, if you're coaches, about wheel of life, a wheel of work, or wheel of values. But what about wheel of strength? So if you dig into the map of talents, then you'll see here just a very, very simple map where you put in the story of successes in your life. You can start it right now. You already have the first ones, and you can continue to build on this map every time you find upon a story of success in your life. You write it down in that column, and then you have to ask yourself, what did you actually do in order to achieve this success? And in this case, I've published 4 books. Well, I just wrote it. So actually, a talent I must have is that I can write. I am trying to write, well, perhaps not a month a year, but perhaps 20 days a year, normally in springtime. But in the rest of the year, I do not write very much. So what can I actually do in order to use this writing talent I have more and become more happy in life? Well, I could actually write a little every day, just to put a little more of this strength into my everyday life, and that could actually increase the level of happiness. What else did you do what else did I do besides writing the books? Well, I used a lot of time on it, and the talent could be perseverance, that I am consistent, and this perhaps I actually use it every day, this perseverance, but I could perhaps be more conscious about that I'm using it, because then I could increase the level of happiness and joy in life. And by the way, looking at perseverance, well, I've been married for 18 years, and this I also just did, so perseverance must be a very great talent of mine. And actually, perhaps you remember from the key talents that humor was a very important strength of mine. And actually, I was a comedian many years ago, and what I actually do to be a comedian, I was funny. Apparently, I wasn't funny enough because I stopped being a comedian. So the talent I used at that time was humor. And if I ask myself when I use this talent today, well, I actually use it when I do a training. It's a great way to increase the level of learning and training. The people seem to like it, and I love it. And so that just means I have to work some more in order to have more happiness, more humor in my life. So by using this, developing this map of talents, you could just you can identify it, you can explore it, you can define when you use it, and you can make strategy in order to use it more. All the stuff we've been through during this presentation. And finally, when you've done that, either with your coachee or you could do it by yourself, then you can put the different strengths and talents into the wheel. And as you might remember from the Wheel of Life, the next step after putting the topics into the different parts of the wheel, then you measure the level of satisfaction in each area. This is best done with the coach. You can perhaps do it yourself, but that will never, you will never get the, you could say you will never, or you will not necessarily get the emotional sensation of the right way to put the level of satisfaction as you can do if you work with a coach, but you can do it by yourself. And when you actually see where you have 0% in the ring, and you have 100% in the center. Then when you start using and putting the level of satisfaction from each and every area, then you can see which ones where you are very satisfied and which ones where you're not very satisfied. And you could find the leverage point, punta de palanca, in order to increase the level of satisfaction in a certain area. So this is a very efficient way to work with Wheel of Strength. So for me, I can just wish for you that you are talented. I know you are. Just use it and also become more happy than you already are. So this was all the words from me so far. And now please feel free to ask any questions. And I will do my best to answer them. Thank you so much.
Jorgen, did you listen to me?
Now I do.
Now, yes. I have a okay. We have another question here from Ricardo Aurelio. I think he is like more than a question. Like yes, he said, if I understood, what you mean is that we should reach an agreement to determine which activities should be.
Sorry, I think you were cut.
Yes. No. He is like saying about your presentation. He had like a doubt, you know, and he said that he understood that you mean is that we should reach an agreement to determine which activities should have, you know.
Mm-hmm. In Spanish, what would you say?
In Spanish, you understand Spanish?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
More or less. Yeah.
A little bit. It's better than my English. Maybe. En español, él lo que está diciendo es, él entendió que lo que tú te referías en tu presentación era que primero había que llegar a un acuerdo para determinar cuáles actividades debían realizarse.
Okay. I guess that the listener is referring to what activities to do in a working situation. And I think that when you, as an employee, you are employed in a company, you always make an agreement in what areas of work you're supposed to do. What would be your tasks in the company? What would be your working area? And I guess already from the beginning, before hiring people, but also in perhaps an annual conversation, it would be very, very important to investigate the strength and talent of these employees, because then the leader has the option of designing the job so it meets the need from the employee to use strength and talent in the work. And if you look at employees that do not use their strength and talent in their work, they will very often quit the job, unless they are too frightened to do that, because they are not sure they will get another job. Because it's very, very dissatisfying to work in a place where you're not using your talents. So normally, when you have an employee, if I'm an employee in a company, I would have some areas where I use talents, and I would have another areas where I'm not very talented, which is very normal. So my advice would be for the leader, in order to become a leader to each and every employee, to investigate talents and strength in order to design in the best possible way the perfect job for this employee, because that will be good for the employee and it will also be good for the company.
Okay, Jorgen, we have another question. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it, and I hope that you understand my English in this opportunity. Sorry. Okay. Is there a specific reason why you are putting the 100% of satisfaction in the center of the strange wheel, and the 0% in the other circle?
Thank you very much for feedback. It was my mistake. Of course I meant opposite.
He was asking that, so he realized that you get confused or something.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ricardo is saying thank you to you. Thank you very much. Now I understand. Ricardo said that, and well, Jorgen, it was a great presentation. Thank you very much. And now if anyone have another question, you can write it down or click in the hand icon and have another question if you want.
It seems that the listeners are very busy doing map of talent.
I think your presentation was so great that everybody understands. Okay, Randy said we'll be getting the slides after the seminar.
It's absolutely possible, yes.
Perfect. We are going to have the slides.
I will mail the slides to you, and you can distribute to anyone who would like them.
Perfect. You're going to give the slides to us, and we are going to share with all the people who have participated today in the meeting. So we are going to invite you to the next Congress in Mexico. It's going to be in October, so don't forget about it. And we are very pleaseful to have everyone here today to have this great presentation with Jorgen. Jorgen, thank you very much. We are very happy.
And thanks. It's good that you remind about the Congress in October, because I'm going to be there in Mexico, and I'm going to talk about whether coaching is religion. Very exciting topic, as I said.
That's great. So we are going to have Jorgen too in the Congress in Mexico, in Mexico City. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, and good night from Denmark.
Yes, good night.
Thank you, Jorgen.
My pleasure.
Gracias a todos por asistir. Recuerden, como les comentó mi compañera Vanessa, que nos vemos en el próximo Congreso en México. Visiten nuestra web www.congresohcn.net. Buenas noches a todos.